Thank you for allowing us in to explore my passion for your onion rings.
Yeah, I love your passion for my onion rings.
Hi, I'm Michael Ruhlman, and today we're going to go see how the best onion rings in New York City are made. We're going to meet the man responsible for those onion rings, Michael Cecchi-Azzolina, who opened a restaurant called Cecchi's in the West Village. I first learned about Michael when I read his book, Your Table is Ready, a memoir of his years in front of the house service at New York City's best restaurants. The book is loaded with fabulous stories about the restaurant world, behind the scenes, everything from gangsters to movie stars to how restaurants really operate. I was fascinated all the way through. Cecchi's the restaurant was born in 2023. Michael had just finished his book and he thought he was retired.
And my older daughter said, Dad, what are you going to do now? And I said, I'm doing anything. I'm done. She said, no, you have to do Cecchi's. And I thought, Jesus. So I slept on it and I thought, you're kind of right. And it was middle of the pandemic. And I thought, let me go looking for spaces. And I found the former Cafe Lou space, which is now Cecchi's, where we are today.
Cafe Lou, it's got a literary tradition.
Huge literary tradition. I mean, Christopher Hitchens would fall off a bar stool, regularly before making his deadline. Martin Amis was here. Jay McInerney would hang out here. All great writers. They hung out here. The editors, the publishers, they all came here. So I took the space because it had that history. It had that New York history, and I wanted to create the quintessential New York City restaurant that I felt no longer existed.
Well, talk about the food.
Yeah, well,
what do you love about the food?
So I love most of my career has been French-based food, always, and I love a bistro. God, man, give me some pate and
some crusty bread and some mustard.
I love that. So I wanted to create that bistro experience in a truly American way. So Daniel Rose, a good friend of mine and renowned chef, I said, Chef, what's a bistro? What's a real bistro? He said, a guy or a woman from Alsace, they have their mother's recipes in their back pocket, take the train to Paris, and opens up the first thing that they can find. And it's home cooking. To me, those are the bars and grills I grew up with in Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. You didn't know who owned them. You didn't know who the chef was. The sign out front said bar and grill, and either above it or on the side of it, steaks, chops, and seafood. My mouth still waters when I see those words. And you'd go into these bars, usually dark, and they served food. The guys are wearing fedoras, and they're drinking scotch, and it was smoke-filled, and you got a piece of fish and a great steak. I loved that, and this is what I wanted this to be.
Cecchi wanted to create a classic American bar and grill, and he went back through history and examined all kinds of menus, looking for just the right fits. The resulting menu has all kinds of classics like steaks and chops and burgers, but also retro things like stuffed mushrooms, a wedge salad with Russian dressing, and chicken a la king, which was featured in the New York Times recently.
Chicken a la king, that was on many menus in the 50s, but it was, white bread with cream of chicken soup and some frozen peas and carrots on it. But I said, well, let's do chicken a la king, let's bring it back. We'll deconstruct it, make it fancy-ish. And we did, and it's one of our best sellers.
Now, why the onion rings?
Onion rings, I think, are very New York. And all these bars and grills had onion rings. Mm-hmm. I love diners. I love diners. I grew up going to diners. Give me a flame-grilled burger and a side of onion rings, and that was heaven to me. So we had to have onion rings. So I said to the chef, Chef, we're putting onion rings on the menu, and they have to be the best onion rings in New York. And Chef...
This is Chef Cesar, right?
Chef Cesar.
Yeah, he's been here from day one.
Yes, from day one. Yes, day one. And what a great, great, great man. As kind as he is talented.
Chef Cesar Balderas.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Good to meet you. Thanks for inviting us into the kitchen of Cecchi's. We're going to be doing what I think are the best onion rings in the city.
It wasn't easy.
Oh, it never is.
It was quite a challenge open the restaurant and have every single recipe down to what we wanted.
Right.
So, and one of those recipes is the onion rings.
Well, tell us about the onion rings.
When we first opened, we tried to make it easy for us, for the prep, for the line cooks, because it was too much going on in the fryer. So we tried different techniques. We tried to cut them, get the bread in, and freeze them. That didn't work. They were falling apart. They literally looked like the frozen onion rings that you get out of the case from companies. So we tried another technique where we try to have them on the milk and have them right before service make them all, but at the end it was just like a big mush, like a big just dough. Yeah. And that didn't work.
We failed. There were some times that onion ring came out, they weren't good. It took, I think, 6 or 7 weeks and maybe 10 or 12 iterations of changing the flour and the temperature of the oil and the onion and how to put it together to really get it.
When we marinated the onions, they were good, but we were like, it's missing something, it's missing some flavor. So we decided to give some love to the buttermilk, which we add more onion powder, salt, black pepper, paprika.
Smoked?
No, regular. Regular. Dry thyme, and garlic powder, and the buttermilk.
Cut me the perfect width onion ring. That's what you want. So that is almost 3/4 inch.
Yeah, and we let it sit at least for 2 hours.
Why do you do that?
So the onion start breaking down, and also if we do this right away, and I throw this on the flour, it won't stick. Mm-hmm. It won't stick at the onion.
I want to be an actor. Came to New York to be an actor. Get hired at Playwrights Horizons to be the assistant to the producing director, and they paid me the lump sum of $0.
Oh, jeez.
But it was great. It was on Theater Row, 42nd Street between 9th and 10th. Playwrights at the time was this wonderful, fervent energy of off-Broadway theater. Everything was happening there. Jim Lapine was working there. Sondheim was working on Sunday in the Park with George.
Oh my God.
There was Bill Finn, Albert Inarado, Christine Baranski was doing the first show. And they couldn't pay me, but they didn't want to lose me. So the producing director was very close friends with the guy who owned the restaurant next door, a French bistro. And so we said, look, I don't want to lose Michael. Will you hire him as a waiter? He said, yeah. And from the foot I went through the door to become a waiter. I loved it. It was great. It was theater. It was a scene. This was a theater restaurant, and it was packed. And all the actors were there. Yeah. And it was wonderful. I met everyone. Tennessee Williams lived across the street. I can go on and on.
Cecchi took that job and ran with it. He spent the next 4 decades in some of Manhattan's greatest restaurants. He was maitre d' at such restaurants as the River Cafe, Le Coucou, and restaurants of that caliber. The book is fascinating. I love restaurant stories, and I wanted to talk to him about his book. You like to call your book Front of the House Kitchen Confidential.
Yes.
Why is that?
Because no one had done it before. No one wrote a book about the front of the house. Bourdain wrote the eponymous book about the back of the house. Mm-hmm. It's a classic. It's a legend. And I thought, well, no one's done the front of the house, so let me do a front of house version of Kitchen Confidential. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I probably don't write my book if he didn't write his book. I worked with Bourdain at the Supper Club, and I just wish he would have lived longer to have read my book, for better or for worse.
Yeah, we all wish he were still around.
Yeah.
This guy has 1 million restaurant stories, and he wanted those stories reflected in his restaurant.
I knew when I took the space, I wanted a mural here and a mural back in the main dining room. And I wanted them to tell sort of a story, a New York story and a dining out in New York story. And I based the wanting of the murals in here on the famous nude at Raoul's, which is actually a photograph, but everyone thinks it's a painting. And it's a nude lying on a couch with red hair draping down. Mm-hmm. And Raoul's became famous for this mural. And it was also very sexy. And it lent to the environment of Raoul's. And I wanted the murals to be sexy, somewhat intriguing, a little bit irreverent. Mm-hmm. And lead you into the restaurant. So the artist is Jean-Pierre Villafan. He came to New York for architecture school, left and became a painter. Wow. So his idea was to start at the 14th Street subway station. And these people come in for dinner and they're brought into the restaurant and the sort of bacchanal begins. Right, so here we are. So we're getting ready for dinner. Apparently, that's me there dragging my wife in. I don't know that she's happy about that, but that's what he said it was. And then this is the group that's coming in for dinner. and then it continues in the back. And the chef gets involved, and he's feeding women an oyster and some desserts. Chefs don't really get to have the fun that we do in the front of the house, so that's an homage to them. And then the party really starts to get a little wild here. We have some musicians, they're having dinner. A chef comes out with some champagne for the crowd, so we get the back of house involved in it. And there's a couple that wound up their way in the bathroom, which is sort of ends their evening at the restaurant.
Beautiful.
We don't sell food. We sell an experience. And the experience begins coming through this transom, and you need to get the customer, your guest, immediately. And you do that by the lighting is correct, you know, the ambiance is correct. You get a warm greeting from the maitre d' at the door. The bartender acknowledges you when you come in. And people need to feel like they, you know, we're on 13th Street, that once they walk through that door, they forgot about 13th Street, or the shitty cab ride, or the argument with the boss, or whatever happened that day. But you come in here, and your shoulders have to drop. It's like, wow. And if you can do that, we've got you 90% of the way. And then just follow it up with, you know, great service and great food. So to me, the perfect onion ring, the crust has to stay attached to the onion ring. It can't fall off when you bite it. Nothing worse than biting an onion ring and you have a plate full of crumbs. And then you have to retain the integrity of the onion ring. You want that snap. If you don't get the snap and the crunch, we failed. The onion ring has failed. So that's what we tried to do, and I think we nailed it.
The flowers you're using.
I'm using Wonder flour, all-purpose flour, and semolina. 3 different types of flour.
And how did you come up with this unusual combination?
The usual combination, we were trying just all-purpose, but now it doesn't have the crispiness. So we add a semolina, which gets a nice crunchy on the outside, but Wonder sticks better.
Yeah,
to the onions.
This is because that's basically a cooked flour.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you just mix everything together. So from here we can go upstairs in the kitchen where all the rest of the magic happen. Necesitas como 15 minutos aquí, por aquí, Ricardo.
Did you ever try using like beer batter or a seltzer? Or?
We try, but no, it's too doughy, it's too inconsistent too. Sometimes the beer batter is really good, sometimes it's too thick or too thin, and it's not very consistent. We keep this fryer just for the onion rings at 375. It doesn't really take that long, maybe 35 to 40 seconds.
This is a perfect onion ring. It's so delicate, and yet it stays with the onion ring. These are really hot. You really taste the thyme, especially the thyme.
You can see the steam is hot.
One of the things I love is that the onion has some real bite to it. It's like al dente onion, but it's thoroughly cooked through. It's hot as hell, tender, sweet, and delicious. It's a perfect onion ring.
And yes, that's a lot of steps, but it has to be done. It's the only way.
It's the only way to get it.
The only way. We try different ways, and now this is the only way, and that's the way it is, and that's the way you got to be.
Do you remember the when he finally got it right and giving it to you to taste?
Yeah, it was a eureka moment. Yeah, it was a eureka moment. I think I might have screamed a little bit. They were so good. They were so good.
And they remain so good.
And thank you.
Do you have any regrets about not pursuing acting further?
You know, I probably 25, 30 years at it. No, I'm done. I did a lot of theater. I did a lot, maybe 60, 70 plays. Did a handful of films. It's hard. It's really hard. I don't miss it at all. I really don't.
But you said from the beginning, when after your first job in a restaurant, you said this is theater.
It is theater.
What are the similarities and differences between?
This is our set, right? I built this restaurant. I know I needed these murals. I knew it had to be beautiful. The lighting had to be perfect, done by l'Observatoire. In theater, the set has to be right. The lights have to be right. You know, you've got to be ready to welcome the audience. And then once that door is open, there's the audience just coming in, and we have our cast. We have the servers and the bartenders, the people you don't see. They're in the kitchen, and that's your cast.
You got onion rings, thick enough onion rings.
And we want the meal to be not performative. We're not performing here, but we're greeting a customer, which is greeting a guest, which is our audience. Audience comes in here, they want to be not entertained, they want to have a good time. You know, you come to the restaurant, the music's right, the lights are right, the glasses are tinkling, the bartenders shake the ice in the shaker. Oh my God, do I love that sound, right? That's all the soundscape of the theater. That's the sound of onion rings frying. It's so integral to what we do. The sounds, the sights, the personalities. It's a show. It's a show, and we got to get it right. Brings me back to my waiting table days.
And you are an active, engaged restaurateur. You must be wiped out by the end of the night.
I don't know. You know, I'm not. They're long days, but this drives me. I really love this.
You get energy from this. So you're a real extrovert.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's like beautiful. All right, here we go. Onion rings.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You're very welcome. Enjoy.